Peace. In the name of Allah, I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Family, Hempstead, believers, welcome to my Facebook Live titled The Policing of Black America, a Failed System. Why we must transform our communities that more like resemble a colony. Hope that everyone is well, and I'll just give a few minutes for a few folks to get up in here. And I hope your weekend is well, family. You know, we all striving, and just gotta get back. And if you have any questions, please chime in. I'm just checking the audio here for everybody. Okay, sounds good. Yes. Okay. Ramadan Mubarak. Blessed and grace Ramadan. I believe is day 21. I haven't even looked at the update, but it's like 22. But if you're practicing Ramadan, and Allah bless you and grace you, and Muslims and believers and those that are, just practicing Ramadan. A lot of Christians are practicing Ramadan now. We're blessed and graced to be in New York. The hours of the day are a little long. Ain't as long as it could be, but it's not hot. We ain't under the heat. It's a little rainy, and weather-wise, we blessed and grace because Ramadan itself is abstaining. Not only just the food, water, and our passions. It's the society. Have a trick or treat for all of your passions, whatever you want in this society, you could get it. It's what price are you willing to pay for it? Most of us sell ourselves short for little amounts of paper. A couple of hundred, some people almost nothing. $100 you get people to do what you need them to do. Even lower amounts than that, depending on the desperation of the person. But we strive, in principle, we stand up. We're able to endure harsh conditions. And that's what fasting does, Ramadan. Ramadan prepares you. Fasting itself. Abstaining. You can abstain from food and water for like the daylight hours. Then you're doing activities, you can endure almost anything. So I pray that your Ramadan is blessed, and I pray that our families are bound together. When you fast and everything, that's the best time. That's one of the meanings of the Sabbath. The Muslims, our Sabbath is 5 times a day. They ask the Muslim, what are your Sabbath? Our Sabbath is Salat, 5 times a day. We recognize the Creator. We submit our will and prayer to do the obeisance to the Creator of the heavens and the earth, Almighty God, Allah. And that Sabbath abstaining forces you, if you have a family, if you're blessed to have a family today, family's diminishing tragically. But when you're doing the Sabbath, abstaining, that forces you to be amongst your family. That's what the Seventh-day Adventists and the Jews, the Sabbath do on Friday to Saturday. Sundown Friday, sundown Saturday, excuse me. But the Sabbath, they don't do anything outside of the home devotion, prayer, and it forces you to be near your family. And we need to be more family. This is why people push us over and stuff. Which is going to segue me right into, okay, it's 8:05, good. Pray that everyone is well. That's going to segue me right into the subject matter. Formally address this again. Peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Family, welcome to my Facebook Live, Policing of Black America, a Failed System, and why we must transform our communities. Mainly, if you don't know that policing is a failed system in the communities, you're probably some comfortable person. You're probably a black person in Hempstead that's just comfortable. You got a laborer, your salary, you go home for the weekend, you don't watch the news, you're not on social media, and you go to your church or your religious service on the weekend, go to a little restaurant or have your food delivered to you, and you get your children from school or whatever, and don't have them interact with people because you do not recognize the obvious. This is a failed system. And pretty soon it gets around to targeting you. That's the problem. You know, I believe that was Ida B. Wells that was had published a very relevant newspaper outlining the injustice to us. I think she said early on, I don't know the exact quote, but she was saying, like, when we heard a long time ago that a black man was lynched, she said, well, black people used to think to ourselves, well, she used the N-word, the black man, he must have did something to deserve it. He shouldn't have did that. That's what black people used to think, oftentimes. Glad it was him, not me. She got out of line until eventually she was targeted. And then you see it reflected in her publications. You know, we don't take things collectively like we should. And it's awful. We wait to these trigger points. We're very reactive. We're not proactive because it has to be personalized to us. When it personally affects us, we see our name on the ad. We see our picture being featured somewhere, and we want everybody to join in and help us against the injustice. You know, we got to be collective. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh. That's our people in America. We've been targeted for unjust policing. What is policing for us? That was the legacy of overseeing during chattel slavery, bounty hunters chasing runaway slaves, and buck breaking on the plantation. By the way, go get our brother Tariq Nasheed's DVD or go watch it. You can download or stream it, called Buck Breaking. It's part of the Hidden Colors series of videos he put out about our history in this world and specifically in this nation. We were targeted by these overseers. The term overseer itself, overseer on the plantation, has transformed to police officer. The term police officer is derived from overseeing on those plantations. And that was daily terror. That was buck breaking. Get a black man, and these overseers and these slave masters would gather together. It would be a arranged event, a spectacle. They would call out all the slaves on the plantation and say, look, what we're about to do to Junebug. He's rebellious, got out of line. He slapped the overseer, something like that. He's just rebellious. They would take him, tie him up, and physically rape him. White men would do this in front of our other men, women, and children on the plantation to take his masculinity in front of everybody. This was common. Rape of men, women, and children in front of our faces. These overseers were brutal. Go watch the movie Django Unchained. That was real. Now that's in Quentin Tarantino's graphic and gory format that he's famous for, but those events happened. That was the relationship. It terrorized us daily. And that overseeing was to ensure that we were kept mental shackled, that our minds were not developed. They bragged on the Congress floor, we have removed all the life from the slave's mind. And we are slaves because we trust in another man to govern us, to cultivate us. It's overseers, bounty hunters, even life insurance. That was insurance slaves. They treat us as chattel. Why? Because they have no recognition of our humanity. They are, by design, by nature, they lack empathy towards black people suffering. Caucasians. I showed the study. I do it all the time on sometimes my Facebook page. And if you want, I'll put the link in the comments for you if you need it. They did a study in Canada. They studied Caucasian people. They didn't study black people because they know how we are. They studied Caucasian people, and they watched them watch a black man suffering, a white woman suffering, an Asian suffering. Got to the white person, the Caucasian like himself, he had empathy. Oh, that's suffering. Suffering, oh my God, I relate to that. When it got to the black person, he was numb. In a Canadian university. Years ago, I remember that study. I always knew it. We always knew it was there. Richard Pryor would bring out stuff like that. How white people are, how black people are, in contrast, how different natures. Malcolm used to do the same thing magnificently. He would paint a picture of it too. We were overseen by people who did not see our humanity. Bounty hunters that would track us down, dogs, all types of things. They would catch us, brutalize us. It was a dominance thing. Dominance, oppressive, whipping that dehumanization into us. They made us into niggas and Negroes. The only nigga and Negro is the white man, Caucasian, nigga and Negro, robbed of the knowledge of self. Made to be a servant of Caucasians in this nation. And it was all done, it was all maintained by overseers, wicked, aggressive Caucasians that love tormenting us, torturing us, killing us, murdering us outright. They got a glee out of it. It's fun to some of them. To this day, go look at the nature of Caucasian people. This is like my second, third time bringing this up on these podcasts. Go Google ridding of pests. We're getting rid of pests and invasive species of raccoons and rats, coyotes, even pigs, feral pigs, and all pigeons from farms. Go look at those Caucasian males and listen very good. You will hear something. When they call these numbers of these so-called pests from farms and forest lands and other people who don't desire them, when they kill them, they just don't kill them and round them up. They kill them and they're giggling and they're laughing. It's fun. It's exhilarating to them. Oh, got another. They're making a mockery of nature. This is alien to original black people and native people in this land. We respected nature. He gets a glee out of murder and torture. He had free reign on us, overseeing our humiliation. This came down to the Jim Crow laws. He would enforce them. He was an enforcer of the Jim Crow laws. What did that trend after slavery? What happened? They formed chain gangs. They formed the prisons. There were no prisons during slavery. You did something bad against the law during chattel slavery, white and black, but mainly black, they would lynch us and murder us. Even white people during slavery, they didn't have prisons because they were in a paradise, a caveman paradise with power over the black man and native people. And they had killed off by huge numbers there. They had they didn't have prisons, they lynched us. We broke the law during slavery. They had lynched white men, but most of them had free reign, let them do what they pleased mainly. They formed the prisons and the chain gangs. They had us there. They leased us out in the second form of slavery. And who were overseeing us? The police. They formed these militias. They would hunt us down. Go watch Django Unchained. How they would be in that shack and they would go out with the dogs and catch us and subdue us and bring us back, and all types of stuff they would do to us. There was a character in there, Devante, I believe, that was eaten, ripped apart alive by dogs. They would do that. Now these overseers, what became the police? They were subduing us when they went into them all-black towns. We were not committing crimes in those all-black towns. There were 60 major all-black towns after slavery in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. We were not committing crime, stealing. We had so much, we were prosperous. When we prosper, we don't turn on each other. We help each other out because we had that extended family. They raised those towns, sent us back to sharecropping. We ran away from there, left, going into the cities. And then when we got out of that, Jim Crow, who was enforcing Jim Crow laws? Segregationist laws. It was the police. They would call in the National Guard against us in most instances if we were rebellion in huge numbers. All of that mindset, that militant mindset of humiliating us remains in them to this day. It has morphed and transformed into modern policing. And if, for black people, what is it like? It's more like being colonized today. They're alien police. They treat us with this militancy in this alienating way. And they're numb to our suffering. You should see them. They're like armed social workers coming in the colony. The black, poor neighborhoods are absolutely colonies. And the more wealthy, affluent black ones can't even see it or recognize it. They're blinded by the light. The law is for two different peoples in this country. The laws was designed against us. The law is for Caucasians to maintain and regulate them. It's when it's a difference, you can't get along as a citizen. Armed law enforcement is there to escort, to make sure you appear before a judge and a jury of your peers in some instances. You appear before that judge to mediate your differences. Because since you can't get along with each other, this is Caucasians. Since you can't get along with each other, he mediated. With us, it's a whole different set. They aggress us. It's aggressive policing. It's alienating. It's like an occupied army. Look at the scene behind me. This is an 8-year-old boy being humiliated, arrested. They harassed, humiliated, arrested him, manhandled a baby, an 8-year-old boy in Syracuse, New York. Look at them. They're like militant. Look how dressed they are. They got this just armed jack militancy about them. What are they doing in the hood like that? In our neighborhoods, we are over-policed. They aggressively do it because it's to keep us oppressed. Policing in the Caucasian community is to regulate, but what to us is to oppress and suppress. That's why they have this attitude and behavior. And we permit it because we trust a people whose nature we do not understand. We cannot see. We project our nature to him. We are humanistic people. We're the most spiritual people on the planet. A lot of superstition. We're superstitious people. That is a fault to a tragedy. We project our humanity on them. We have been the most humiliated people in this country. The whole aim and purpose of the country was to humiliate us for hundreds of years. And we still trust these people to police them. We pay them. These police are paid and trained to lie and aggress us. Broken windows in New York City. Stop and frisk. We are 2 times more likely to be profiled and arrested by the police. That's historic, man. That's the way it is with them. We are, with them, it's aggressive. They're like armed social workers coming in to deal with the people who have unhealed trauma. Generational unhealed trauma is vicious. And here they come. Do as I say. And shout out to the brother that called them out. We need more brothers like this. Should have been a team of brothers with that energy to say that's a child, that's a boy. But you know why they do that? Because we don't go to their 8-year-old boys and do it to them. We should snatch them up, brutalize them, start doing it to them, start letting their loved ones feel some of our pain. It can stop. We don't need policing in our community. We need transformation of unhealed trauma, unaddressed trauma, self-hatred, miseducation. They give us inferiority complex. Most of the crimes we commit are derivative crimes. Wealthy oligarchs, wealthy bankers print trillions and trillions of dollars and they give it to their friends in abundance and they trickle down a few to you and you scramble against each other. And they put in immigrants amongst you, ambitious, industrious immigrants who come in to get more gold for their labor. You're competing against that for a job. This is why they're all in the medical field. They're all up in the professions. They brain drain their own country to come to this wicked racist one for an opportunity to get more gold for their labor. And all that gold, the mountain of gold in America, was built off our backs. I covered this in my last podcast about reparations. That's the arrogance of these beasts. Scriptures call them fiery serpents. That's their attitude, man. They feel they're doing something. They got that hunt in them. That's natural in them. And we've been weaned and emasculated. Look at our sister. From Trina, I believe that's her name pronounced. Trina something that played the Pam character on Martin. Good sister Trina. She said, what can we as black women do to stop the emasculation of black men? What can we do? Look at how it triggered so many people who are emasculating young black men. Young black men don't have manhood training. It takes a man to make a man. We have to train them in paramilitary, culture. Get them out of that public school that is just destroying their mind, destroying their potential. It keeps them passive. It's all about emasculation. A woman cannot raise a man and a soldier and a warrior alone. And men, we have created this vacuum because we abandon our women. We just want to have sex with them. We count our achievements by how many women we've had sex with, how many children that we don't claim. It's bizarre, this relationship we have, expecting young men to grow up like that, abandoned. But you know, they have a saying, an African proverb that says, the village that sends the youngster out to the cold of the village, that outcasts that youngster into the cold outside of the village, that same youngster, that orphan, will burn down that village to feel its heat. We need the manhood training. Only men can do this. It works. I've been a part of manhood training. It works. It produces men. We letting the system emasculate them. You're putting them in the public school system. That's the worst part. If you're a young man in a house with a woman alone, your chances are slim of developing to a man. Some of us can, some women can, some, but most can't. Most capitulate. They collude. They want comfort, security. That's the nature of a woman, to nurture and want security. It's the nature of a man to be aggressive, to be the hunters, and want peace in the home. Our youth in the school, if they show aggression, they want all these passive students. I left public school. I was in the 6th grade, 7th grade at Hempstead Middle School, and that was nothing relevant for me. I was exposed to 5% teachings, black history, and all that black power and consciousness. Forget it. I couldn't sit in them classes no more. The streets was calling me more, because in the street they were showing more power and independence, even though it was derivative crimes, street crimes. I wish they policed us more. They patrol us. The paddy wagon, paddy patrols, that was catching slaves, rounding us up. After slavery, they literally had squads of Caucasians that tracked us down and would catch us without papers. Many of us didn't know how to read. They would say, this person broke the law and we have this against him. And they would put us in modern day slavery. They would put us in chain gangs. They would lease us and sell us for labor and exploitive minds. In even factories. As they built the jail system. This is how it expanded. So young men not having power, not having freedom, we rebel. That stuff is so uninteresting to us. American public school system, especially Hempstead, is worse because you act like you educating us. You pretend. That whole school board, not one member have I spoken to understands cultivation and knowledge of self and refinement in the nature of black men and women in education, advanced learning, call response. They know nothing. They're ignorant. And they watch us get miseducated. So when the black child, the little docile student, gets a star on the forehead, it's the teacher's pet, it's the most docile student. Go watch. Who are these students? Gets the highest grades in Hempstead Public Schools. It's the docile students. And young men, it goes against our nature to be docile. We hunters by nature, providers by nature. And you let us express that nature in Hempstead Public Schools. They will put you on psychotropic drugs, Ritalin. They will drug your baby, drug our babies. We live in their natures of aggression. We're supposed to be aggressive. Man, we play with each other, toss each other around, wrestle, do the dozens on each other, hit the beat and the drums, the bat in school on the desk. We love being creative. We want freedom. We want power in society. That being ourselves, living our nature, is a threat. The Caucasian male, puny complex, fear of genetic annihilation. Look at this cracker. Why is he manhandling the baby like that? Because it's not men living their nature, surrounding his ass to check him and punish him for it, to retaliate. It's a vacuum, lack of manhood. It's the essence of why we have this failure of policing in the community. Men aren't stepping up to cultivate and grow us because we trust the system to govern us, that despise us, diametrically opposed to our nature, our natures. Excuse me. You know, they put your children on Ritalin and these pacifying drugs to keep them docile. And if that don't work, what's next? What is designed? What public school designed to be? Just like Woodrow Wilson said, just like that Clinton character that formed the New York Regents Board. So we're going to have separate educations. One for the common man, one for the elites. And the common man, we're going to bring out the worst in you, aim you low to serve. And we're so happy to serve. Excuse me, sir. If we look at the school system, teachers, administrations, all they care about is having children have this Eurocentric miseducation that gives us inferiority complex, that makes us laborers to serve corporations, and once we do get money or a job, something, we leave the community. They feel their aim and purpose is to get 100% allegiance and obedience to this system, to memorize test taking and not critical thinking. If you had critical thinking, you would see your nature as being diametrically opposed. So we don't come out serving our community, protecting our community. You never taught civics, economics. Don't you know they said when they would educate us, they said 3 things we're not going to teach our niggas and Negroes. They said this in a church in Georgia. They said we're not going to teach them the science of business, warfare, and mating. What's warfare? That's the militancy in the community. This is why we lack militancy. And once that vacuum is not being filled, when you create a vacuum like that, it got to turn adversely against us. This is why we don't strike out. We're not trained to be men, to protect our community against aggressors like these race soldiers here. They're literally race soldiers, armed social workers, that most often we call them on the phone in conflict with each other. Caucasians, there are laws for them to go into court so that the judge would mediate with for us, it's filling up jails. 80% of the population in Nassau County jail is Hempstead Public School System. I know, I'm an alumni of the system. I'm an expert at it. I understand it well. The administrators are a disgrace. You under-aiming our babies with this irrelevant miseducation is diametrically opposed to our nature that brings out the worst in us. It doesn't celebrate our accomplishments, our nationalism in the community. The success stories you promote are jobs, a certificate on the wall. Give me a corporate issued certificate. That's the aim of it. You're so proud, you feel you've arrived. Then you go pay money to be further miseducated, to get more corporate issued, government issued certificates on your wall. Institutions from white supremacist institutions that are designed to keep you a permanent underclass, educated just enough to serve. We are our own undoing. We cannot permit this anymore. Even in Hempstead, you thought you were advancing with black police. Many of them just black faces. They got that same mind. It's the same derivative system. They have no, black officers have empathy for your pain. That's about it, but them white ones is the source of your pain. They aggress you. They aggress you for no reason. I remember a black man, he was just shot outright by a devil. This police had a rifle with a scope on it. A black man, his brother years ago, was caring for an autistic boy. I think he was like a Latino, Arab background boy, autistic, playing with his toys in the streets. Some old dumb Karen calls the police. Some young, probably his age, 8 years old, something like that. I'll never forget it. He was playing with toys in his lap. And some Karen, oh, they're going to give some nosy white woman, looking out the window. You know how they be in the neighborhood, looking out the window. The remnants of white people that stayed in the black community, they were nosy as hell. That's that Karen, man. We've known that. We just didn't call them Karens back then. It's a boy playing with a gun. Tamir Rice, a baby, was gunned down. A child playing with a BB gun, a toy gun. The brother came out and let everyone know, this is my boy, autistic boy. He was caring for him through some, like daycare, something like that. And the these police, like him, militarized, armed to death, ready to kill, snipe the boy. And he came out, look, this is him. Get on the ground. They order him on the ground, hands up. You can see through the scope that these are toys. But what do you see through that? You see a threat because you fear genetic annihilation from black men. You have the Kronos complex and all other sick diseases against nature and against blackness. But the naturalness, nature, the naturalness in this society and our nature is a threat to you. This police took his scope and aimed at that brother and pulled the trigger, shot that brother. Who was negotiating, describing this awesome boy, leave him alone, get on the ground, hold your hands up. He had his hands outstretched, laying down. This serpent shot him with a sniper's rifle. And after the aftermath, the brother asked me, why did you shoot me? He asked the cop that shot him, why did you shoot me? And the cop didn't, I don't know why. That was his response. It's subconscious. These people have a subconscious fear of us, fear of genetic annihilation. Go observe our sister, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, videos about the nature of Caucasian males, how they are fear-filled, and exeniophobia, fear of strangers. And the greatest fear they have on this planet is the fear of genetic annihilation. This is why they strike out at black men in this country. We need separation from them. We need quarantining from them. We need to form our own policing in the community. that is different. Shouldn't even call it, not even policing. We just need cultivation. We need to form our own courts. We'll mediate with each other. We need a conflict resolution center. And we need some soldiers to confront serpents like this. Caucasians do it for their community. They protect their community. In their community, it's proactive. You know, it's policing their community. They deal with them disturbances differently because they are different. You don't face this difference. This ain't taught in school. This is what we need to teach in school. You're 2 times more likely to be arrested by these race soldiers than you are everyone else in this society. Black men are 2 times more likely to be arrested, to be profiled and stopped by police. We are and prosecuted at way more rates than Caucasians. We have 5% of substance abusers. Yet we make up 30% of the arrests. Nassau County, right over there, jail. I'm an alumni of that. I've been in the streets. I went in the streets 79 to 86. I was all up in them streets. We were targeted. It's psychotic, man. I used to be on terrace at night. I was hanging out. I used to sell weed. I used to steal. I used to steal cars, steal bikes. I would steal anything that was not tied down because I wasn't cultivated to have gratitude for the things that I had, to save up and team up with others. And none of us teamed up to do things together. Some of us shared our toys and our little gadgets and little go-karts and the little mopeds. Some of us, most of us did. We're very selfish. If you were deprived, youth and Black Hymn said you were just deprived. Your neighbors had toys, other children, they would be playing with them right in your face. And most parents wouldn't let other children play with them other toys. You're creating a bad vacuum of depravity. That's what derivative crimes is. They print trillions of dollars of paper notes. They give out the bulk of it to their friends and give a trickle to you. You're going to be vying with each other over this because we don't serve each other like we should. That's why we don't protect our community. We aren't taught to protect it. We protect our section against each other because we turn on each other because of that vacuum for the lack of manhood. Go listen to them rappers that's talking about gang banging. Remember Nick Cannon? You know those rap offs. The brothers that's rapping against each other. Oh, I'm better than you. I'm the best. Go look how vicious they get towards other black men. I kill you. I rip when they're having them rap battles. Not the professional verses. I'm talking about the MCs just rapping, going off at each other. They'll start fighting, shooting one another. Go listen to just the self-hatred they're expressing towards each other and blackness and our women. They don't even mention our community. They call it the hood. They get into the rap. I kill you. I rip you apart. I take your liver out. I put it back. Nigga, you nothing. I hate you. You're low down. You scum. I hit you so hard in your testicles, you won't be able to produce children for generations and generations. And then when the generations, I kill you. I hate you. And I bury you in the ground. And, you know, those rap battles. And you hope you survive. You come back as a ghost. I kill you again, nigga, because I hate you. I'm bad. I'm listening. Go listen to the self-hatred we express. And that militancy towards each other. And I take the gun and I shoot you again. And if the bullet missed, it come back and hit the ghost that dug up that dumb crap. It's self-hatred. It's hatred towards self. And we venting it towards each other. That's why we strike at each other. Because we don't strike at these race soldiers. It's the cowardice in us that's been nurtured. We don't have the training and the militancy to protect and defend our people. That's why policing have failed in this community and amongst our people. It capitalized off our ignorance and arresting us and prosecuting us. Most whites who encounter police are not as arrested at the higher rates that we are, and they're not prosecuted nowhere near the rates that we are. With us, it's the school to prison pipeline. It's designed for that. The public schools and black neighborhoods, the ignorance and lack of cultivation and how they make black men, black babies and child docile, where we won't develop in them. And if you do show signs of aggression, they say he's toxic. So you give him toxins, you give him psychotropic drugs, Ritalin. Because we aren't trained in militancy, we don't have our heroes on the wall. We have corporate issued certificates we're so proud of. We have mentally dumb, deaf, and blind slaves, robbed of the knowledge of self. We don't value our community. Why would we protect it? Because we don't have our heroes on the wall, like Marcus Garvey, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Fard Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, Harriet Tubman. They made a movie about Harriet Tubman. Sojourner Truth, and other great warriors and freedom fighters we have. They're not on our walls as strong images to look up to. Even back in the Nile Valley, you can put the pharaohs up there, kings and queens. Black women ruled the world back then. You were so silly. You were silly, black man and black woman in America, celebrating the first that. You a fool. So happy because we're so powerless. So we got the certificate on the wall. We don't have power. That's the certificate. I'm so proud of that. You hate yourself, so you want acceptance amongst other people. So you take your certificate and you feel validated, but you get microaggressed of death and humiliated by people who are numb to your nature. You're so proud. The first black president, the first black Supreme Court justice, the first black vice president. We're so proud because we are hopeless. Black women and integrity rule the world in instances. Queen Hatshepsut ruled the known world, a black woman. And you are so silly to think that the first time you did anything in life is under white supremacy. White folks let you do something. This is your mind. It had been mapped. You have shackles on your mind. Queen Candace of Ethiopia ruled the world. She confronted Alexander the Great, who was an Egyptian. His father was Nekhtar II, the last authentic line of pharaohs, of pure Egyptians, a black man. Look in the British Museum. He's there under Haru. Horus got them protecting wings around him, the Black Hawk. Did you know that? Alexander the Great, that was his son. He appeared as the magician up in Macedonia. Alexander the Great was not a Greek. His mother was Olympus, a non-Greek, non-Macedonian woman. And Queen Candace had an army front line with them elephants, them fighting elephants from Ethiopia. That's why Alexander the Great went to India. He went to go get them fighting elephants. The Hindus put a whooping on Alexander. He lost his horse Bashifus during that battle. That was a mighty battle. Alexander the Great was bad. He was an Egyptian. He didn't conquer Egypt. They let him into Egypt. He went to they honored him. They wrote him in as Pharaoh. They carved him into steel as the last Pharaoh of Egypt. He was welcomed in. He didn't conquer anything. It was the Greeks that were with him that were culture vultures. Aristotle, that was his mentor. He came in steel. Because Socrates was a student in the Nile Valley mystery system that opened the door for Plato, and Aristotle would come in. Aristotle guided Alexander to do it. This is why when Aristotle took all those books from the great library, those were gifted to Alexander. He gathered all those. Aristotle took it back and formed the Lyceum. Plato formed the Academy. Both of them were culture vultures and thieves and plagiarists. Queen Candace was respected as the most powerful woman in the world. She was competing against Alexander. Alexander did not face her. He would not go and fight her. Queen Nzinga of Angola. These were rulers. These were powerful women. The head of armies. Hatshepsut was a conqueror. And you proud of some servant. Condoleezza Rice. They mocked her. She's a doctor. Dr. Condoleezza Rice. A dummy like Bush called her Condi. Called Colin Powell. Well, they respected him mostly. They accomplished nothing. You're fighting for your enemy and oppressor. Lying thieves. They love fighting, stealing, plundering. That's why they're in our community, maintaining it. They're race soldiers. You are not cultivated to grow and protect yourself. This is why we resemble a colony. They're like armed social workers. They're like an invading force. They're aliens. Look at their body language, their attitudes. They're all militarized. They're militants. They're race soldiers. Fighting a war of white supremacy against us that we refuse to acknowledge. You don't want independence. You don't want freedom. You don't want power. It's too much responsibility and the power in the light of a man that seems formidable, that seems undefeatable. Formidable, I mean. We got to empower ourselves. This ain't our first time doing it. Stop saying that. First this, the first that. You're so proud. Every damn thing you do. You're just waiting for some white person to tell you it's the first this, the first that. That is dumb. You're ignorant, dumb, deaf, and blind. Get the knowledge. Study black history books. The knowledge of yourself. Get Message to the Black Man by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Theology of Time. Our Savior has arrived. Go and get Minister Farrakhan, Torchlight for America. Go and get Dr. Ben Jonathan, Dr. Ben books on the glory of Africa. Go get Chuck Ane Diop's books. Pre-colonial Black Africa, Civilization of Barbarism, African Origin of Civilization. It's all right there. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Brother Rakono Rashid. African presence in early Asia. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. African presence before Columbus. African presence in America before. Oh, they came before Columbus. Sorry, that's the name of this major book. They came before Columbus. I believe it was J.A. Rogers who put out the African early black presence in America. All of them scholars. Go read, study your history, know your history, know who you are. Because if you trip being yourself, you truly stumble all over the place trying to be somebody else. They miseducate us. And this is the result. Others police in our community when we should cultivate it ourselves. It won't require this police. Them all black towns didn't have policing. They had World War I veterans defending our communities. We weren't stealing from each other. We had so much. It was illicit stuff going there. It was some Negro stuff going there. We lacked the knowledge itself, but we were dignified enough to know that we had to do for ourselves. That's what forced us to do it. We went to them Caucasian communities. Man, we didn't even think about that. You couldn't even think about moving to a Caucasian community in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So we had power. That was power. That's what attracted Marcus Garvey here. It's when we came amongst them and we believed the trick of integration. They tricked us. They tricked the boys. They tricked Dr. King. It was all a trick. And look at the result. Caucasians are never going to integrate with you. They raised those all-black towns. 60 were major. No crime. And we had hundreds across the country that were very much smaller. They raised all of them. Why? Because they know that we prosper. They were envious of us. That wasn't the first time of us doing nothing. We built the country. And they exploited us and built a mountain of gold off that exploitation, off our blood, sweat, and tears. And they owe us reparations for it. And they continue the injustice to this day. You know how much they're paying these police to brutalize us? They're using our tax dollars to brutalize us. We got to make changes, brothers and sisters. And it starts with us not policing, cultivating our community. We got to get rid of that word police. It's not needed amongst us. We got to cultivate ourselves to build a community out of the colonies. And we can do it because we did it before. We got to stop trusting our oppressors, as diabolical as they are. These people, I call them magicians. It'd be a sleight of hand. You don't even know what happened to you. You start blaming yourself. That's the first thing people charge us with, these immigrants. Ambitious, industrial immigrants coming to get more gold for their labor. Looking at exploited blacks. Superstitious, exploited blacks. Trust in a system designed to keep us a servant, a slave, and permanent underclass. What's the first thing they say? Oh, you're lazy. Get up off and do yourself. That takes a lot of nerve. And the reason they get away with it most of the time is we don't know our history. We don't know our root in the motherland and all around the world. And millions of us were here anyway, building pyramids, civilization, spreading law. We are the lawgivers. The 5 tribes, upstate New York. I forgot the name of the tribes, but it was symbolized by a cabin house, a long cabin house that had a fire in the center, and that fire was the light from the law. It was a black man that came and designed that, gave them that law, the law giver. He came and he left. It was a black man. That was us. From the Nile Valley, the Olmecs, the traveling Olmecs. There were millions of black people over in the Western Hemisphere. And we didn't come colonizing, raping, stealing, lying, murdering. We had a complementary relationship that we're not educated on. So we rely on another man to provide for us. That's why we feel so accomplished with the certificate. And we hope that certificate gets us in a place where we're the first. The first this. The first that, first woman, the first black man. So proud of going backwards. And amongst the people who are diametrically opposed to our nations. That's how the society was built and designed. That's why the red line you. All these laws, Jim Crow laws, black codes, gentrification. All of that is done to protect the nature and power of Caucasian people in this country. And we got to stop relying on it. All right, let me see if I have any questions here. I don't see no questions. So I'm wrapping up today. It's just only going to be like an hour because it wasn't too much to talk about because things ain't going to change until we make that change. We're going to take a bold step to stop this. That boy's 8 years old. They accused him of stealing some chips. And look at him manhandling him. And the brother stood up. Man, why are you mishandling our baby? And soon we're going to stop recording stuff like that. We're just going to act on it. We're going to retaliate against you doing this, man. Start letting your families and children feel our pain and the consequences of your racist aggressions. It's militancy they have towards us, man. I have a saying, many of us aren't asleep. We are frightened people pretending to be asleep. I used to mess up at 33 East Graham. My stepdad, Earl Hightower, may Allah be pleased with him. I love Earl. He's a Vietnam veteran too. Hightower and his son Mark Hightower and his nephew, his good brother Maurice, over on Terrace. And he said Bev, he was married to Beverly, and that was in the 70s. And he was going with my mom's, and we were staying at 33 East Graham. He came over once in a while, 299 Jackson. That's when he passed. I don't know the circumstances. Said he was in the house on Baldwin Road, I believe, something like that. And that hit me hard, that news. But when we were at 33 East Graham, I would get in trouble. And my moms would say, you did that, you wait till Earl get home. Now I would run from her. She would give us whippings, and with some serious whippings. My mom would lay on them whippings that came from chattel slavery. They were excessive whippings. Black people get with the belts, man, they were excessive. All that pain and trauma being whipped into us. They even had cadences. Your black ass better not do it again, and don't have this cadence that came from slavery. That excessive whipping. And I could get away for her a little while, but I had double trouble. So when Earl get home, he gonna talk to you about it. I knew it wasn't no talk. So as he was approaching home, I would go and pretend I was asleep. And you lucky to stay asleep overnight. Most of us didn't make that overnight sleep. We would get woke up with a beating. A deserved beating, but excessive. Those beatings were excessive. They represent our pain. We could go in amongst people during the day, working with them, living with them, Caucasians, or visiting them. Have all these microaggressions. Some of them disrespect us outright. And instead of fighting him, fighting the race soldiers, we would fold and come home. And Richard Pryor used to bring this up in his skits and take it out on our children. We gotta stop this. Go watch those rap battles. Think of this, I'll kill you, your descendants, you ain't nothing, I'll rip you inside out, put you down, spit you out, because I hate you, hate yourself. We hate ourselves. We're not trained. We're not cultivated in our nature. That is Islam. That is truth. If we were, we would have manhood training. We wouldn't permit this, man. This would no way happen. Do you know when we have these huge rallies, the Nation of Islam, we have these huge rallies, we're doing security details, all this law enforcement, these people respect us. None of them disrespect us. It's so rare, it stands out to me. I remember, brother, we had the massive rally. Minister Farrakhan rallying the brothers in Harlem at the Armory. This is in the 90s, right after Jacob Javits Center. This is the prelude to the Million Man March. He was traveling all around the country, rallying them big rallies. They were thick rallies. Stop the killing. I'll never forget it. Dr. Khalid was with him, man. He built up, Allah, peace and mercy upon him. Long live his spirit. He's the militant brother that had us charged. Farrakhan got us into the New York Armory. It was thick. It was packed. I think the Minister Conrad was the minister then in New York. And we was in there thick, and it was NYPD was on the periphery. They were useless for us. I think they do during events like that, they do stuff like traffic and other, other things, simple things like that. Unless they are near escort for Minister Farrakhan with the convoy. But mainly, they just standing around. A lot of those events that we do, because we self-discipline, we train, we're cultivated, we're nurtured, living in truth, and empowered. We're powerful. So we're in there, and some of the brothers went through a separate door, I believe it was. They shouldn't have gone through, and the police was behind that door. And the police pushed the door. And the brother reeled back at them. Yo, man, what are you doing? And the police snapped at him. Go around the other way. And the brothers was going to deal with him. And getting hostile, started surrounding them. Because, in those places like that, we the ones in power. We the ones doing security and stuff like that, and commandeering, pointing, and organizing stuff. We the most organized, highly organized. We are highly organized. We are the most organized group in America. Especially Black America. And that police aggressed the brother, saying, get back. I said, get back from the door. And it was a brother, I think it was Brother James, from in Long Island, was selling T-shirts. He was hawking T-shirts. And he was in charge of that area. And he saw that commotion, and he blew his whistle. And it all came to stop. And went back to the order we had it in. And immediately after it went back to order, he went back to selling his shirts and stuff. And that stood out to me, because that doesn't happen. Instances of skirmishes don't happen when we're doing organizing in the community. Think over that. You running around by yourself, making your own rules. Most of the time, you be minding your business. These race soldiers come aggress you. But oftentimes, what do they do? Who are they stalking and hunting? Somebody accused of a crime. Hanging out and stuff in front of a nasty bodega. That's probably why they accuse this baby from stealing the chips from. That's probably some immigrants in a bodega, dummies, calling the police on an 8-year-old boy taking chips. Suspected him of stealing chips. And they called race soldiers for that. They did that with George Floyd. Supposed to have been a counterfeit $20 bill. And your sorry asses will call race soldiers on a black man for that. We must transform it. When we cover down on our communities, they respect us. All of us. The mob respects us. The police respect us. Secret Service respect us. All these details, the governors and the mayor, all of them respect us. Because we respect ourselves. And we unify. And we retaliate. We redistribute our pain and energy towards our enemy, our oppressor, and love towards our people. We love our people. I come to you in love. That's why I have this message. It may seem harsh to some people. You may hear some terminology, words that other people don't throw around. This is my experience. Policing have failed us. Don't you know that the Nation of Islam solved the drug and crime problem in projects around this country? And there were groups, government groups, and I think it was the ADL or somebody like that. Peter King, that was Peter King, that discontinued the Nation of Islam security of projects, public housing. In America, it was in Washington, D.C. and New York. We were very successful because we respected, because we go to our people with love. We're not armed. And we face armed people. But they respect us because they know we retaliate. But until we spread this cultivation around, this will be the same story. Abuse, murders, and humiliation. It's in their nature. And nothing is going to change that nation. Ain't no teaching, ain't no instruction, it ain't no reform. It's transformation of us taking charge of our communities. It's the only solution. There is no other way. You have no other way. Jewish people cultivate their community. That's why you have the lack of these alien people. You can't go to their community, pushing them around, shooting them down. Why don't all these murders, police murders, shootings, and abuse happen in other communities? Why ours? Because it is the legacy of chattel slavery overseeing bounty hunters. It is a failed system. And what is ours? Cultivation. Come on and get the knowledge yourself. We must form a restoration resource center. And in that resource center, we train. We already have a blueprint for it. We have the peacekeepers. We have the 10,000 fearless. That's right in New York. Peacekeepers nationwide. 10,000 fearless, I think, is more focused in New York. We're all successful, but not supported by government. Do you know why? Because they have a jail cell for you, black man, instead of a boardroom for you. You rely and you trust on your oppressor. And that is the tragedy of being black in America. When you rely and trust on your oppressor, you can never escape that system. But in our system, what happens? You grow. You start doing things in your community. You get compensation. You have to get compensated. In Hempstead alone, $2 billion they owe us. Black Hempstead mainly, well, we get the bulk of that money, but that's for all the homeowners that lost their home. That's Latino. And some Caucasian too. Some. But mainly that's black. They owe us $2 billion. The government of America, New York State, the county, and the town of Hempstead. For overtaxation, underassessing our homes, gentrification, displacement, the humiliation, and us having to start over, of losing our property value, losing our community value, and increasing inflation and the cost of living. In Hempstead, it was $2 billion. Should not even get that money, get them funds to build a restoration resource center where we train. There's no industriousness amongst us, no creativity. We all want to exercise this in other arenas. You get the certificate on your wall saying, look, I went to this school. I work in this corporation. Reward me. I'm not the rebellious student. I'm not the black student that wants to live his nature and be himself, exercising his power and authority. I'm the docile. So I'm the meek one. I'm the passive one. Reward me. You're a fool. You're a failure. You are a failure. The policing have failed us. The education have failed us. It is miseducation. They've not taught us civics, building families, structures, and the churches have failed us. This is why you don't hear them. You don't hear the black churches speaking about these issues, confronting them, offering training to be a base. We used to, decades ago. We can still do it again. Transform the churches. They're white Jesus. Black churches in Hempstead where white Jesus is on the wall. God damn. Come on, black church. You can do better than that. That's a mind map. That's incredible. You can't overcome that. God is white. God damn. You just go ahead back on the plantation. You're useless to us. And it ain't even true. I could see if it was true. Every people reflect the divine God as himself. Churches and the mosque in Hempstead. All our organizations, we got to team up, pool them resources towards training, towards cultivating, restoring our tax base, our houses. Others are planning for us, and it ain't good. It's for us to be a permanent underclass. But we can plan to build businesses, to train in entrepreneurialism. That take training. You just don't come out and build no business. It's a person I know on, I ain't gonna say the name or the street or the address, but had this establishment that was kind of like not professional, okay? And I had people who even criticized me say, oh man, that business, now you're talking about the brother business. Here's a black man in our community, got his family. Building a business is not professional, but it's a business. And you say, oh, it's nasty in there. These bodegas. Bodegas nasty as hell. You support them. Adam Clayton Powell said, don't patronize where you're not hired. We could take a person who doesn't have a professional establishment, and I offered. I got some brothers together, and we are crafted in construction. I know I can redo the interior of, especially a home, a house, and commercial, about 70%. I could redo, renovate, and restore the 70% to 80% of the inside of a home in a commercial dwelling, especially a home, 80%. The inside of a home, I can remodel. The lighting, walls, and electrical, plumbing, sheetrock, make rooms, shift them around. I've done that work before. That's not just painting. I'm talking about restructuring a home, redesigning a home. The flooring, lighting, except the HVAC. You can't do the main central air, the actual system. The base, I would have to call in someone for that. That's like 10% I'm talking about. I can do 70 to 80%. So I called on other brothers. Look, we'll do the labor. We somehow get the materials, either the owner of the store, he paid for the materials. I said, let's do his lobby. Let's make it polished, make it nice. Let's do the basement. It was funky down there, man. It was horrible. It smelled like a dead rat or something. We're down there. And I said, let's get the light. Let's, whatever he needs, let's make it presentable. Let's train him in customer service. I know customer service. We all can get tips on how to treat people. It's all about your genuine concern of how you treat people. Treat them well. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And I had a few brothers for that. But it was the owner of that establishment. He rejected it because he felt patronized. He basically told me, I don't care what these niggas think about me. It's like, man, he's just tired of the critics. But that's what we need to do. And then I said, when we go to his business, which he rejected out of pride because he didn't like the people who were criticizing. And one brother that was criticizing him, he criticized me today. And he criticized, come on, man. So instead of me complaining and criticizing, I said, let's go and polish up this brother's business. Let's make it professional. And I didn't ask for no money. I said, we take our labor, we have specialized in carpentry and design, and let's polish up this brother's store, make it professional, make it presentable. And go to these local stores. They're getting pilots in the store. Home Depot, over there you're getting a pilot. Provide some supplies, some tile, some lighting, some ceiling tiles, some paint, and some shelving, some insulation provided for us, free, in the community to restore these black businesses and make them professional. And we need to do that to each black business to get it up and running and make it professional and teach them in customer service. They said, well, you gotta, if you a scarred person, if you have trauma, childhood trauma, untreated childhood trauma, and you have scars that you have not addressed, pain that you refuse to get help from, you're a running case, man. Nobody can help you. You're taking it out on us. That's what you see in the community. Untreated, unaddressed trauma is killing Black Hempstead and our people in community. Untreated trauma. Rape, molestation, verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is worse than physical abuse. And it's just fortified in that horrible public school system, giving you an inferiority complex. We need a brick force of mental health workers, auditors, spiritual mental auditors to order people's mentality, to align, to make account of the things that have happened to us, put in a plan towards creating a brighter future, towards respecting each other. Well, you won't need policing. You respect each other. You want to help each other. If your business is shining, your business is polished, your respected community is contributing, and your family's up in there as a family business, you'll value yourself. You won't want to rob this place. You won't want to piss in front of the sidewalk in front of it, and graffiti and spit out gum on the sidewalk and disrespect it and loiter. Disrespect yourself. It's cultivation, but it must start. You can't keep relying on a system that is diametrically opposed to your nature to elevate you. By design, it humiliates you, dehumanizes us, made us 3/5 of the man, a human being. That was in the law. Slave master, if he had 5 slaves and his neighbors had no slaves, and there was a family of 10, and he had a plantation with like 10 slaves, he could, during voting time, that slave master voting power was like 7 people. He had like 10 people on the plantation, two white people that got like 8 slaves, and it's a next door neighbor with 10 people that have 10 white people going to vote. And before, they didn't count us as anything, so he could only have 2 votes. But he said, look at my slave. So this is the 3/5 of the human beings. He would count now like it's 8 slaves, so that would be like, what, 7 votes or something. His total vote on that plantation would be 7. It would increase because they didn't see us as a full human being. That has never been addressed. That has never been reconciled. None of the trauma they put on us for hundreds of years have been reconciled. And this is the consequences you see, that in somebody else. Alienating armed race soldiers, armed social workers, race soldiers, overseeing our community. This must stop. And our institutions get transformed. And under those institutions, when we empower and they do this, retaliate, it never happened until we pool our resources to be more protective. And that's building up value, that spiritual value within. Get in the Ramadan fast, study, read the books. Message to the Black Man. That's just about it for me. I can't say anything after that. That's your mission. Go and read the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, Message to the Black Man. And let's come together, build a resource, restoration center that empowers us. But we won't let anyone come in our community and do an injustice to us, inequality, raping this community of the economic resources, overtaxing us paying other people taxes. We cannot emulate a European mindset, a colonizers. We can't emulate that as our own. But now we get in power, we oversee our own people with this mindset. This is what they do at the village board, man. Go look at the backdrop behind it. It's all racist, land grab. Caucasian, fake reverend, Belmont, stealing land from native people. Another trick, another treaty broken. Theft, plunder. But the resource center will protect that. Message to the Black Man, Resource Center. That's our goal, family. And that will transform our community, transforming yourself to reflect the beauty in us. I know we can do it, family. I'm signing off now. Let me see if there's any questions. Oh, jeez. I didn't look towards none of them questions, did I? Nah, I don't know why. Maybe I can't see them until after it's over anyway. But family, I pray that your weekend is well. Pray that your Ramadan is well and successful. And I pray that we as a people, we can overcome these racist institutions, transform it, form a cultivation and community value for ourselves. It's written in our DNA. We are the kings, we are the queens, we are the rulers of the world. We are the first. Everyone else is a Johnny come lately, coming behind us. We're rooted in our nature. I leave you as I greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace and grace. Ramadan Mubarak.